Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. It has been a while, but we are so back as we got a surprise announcement at Gamescom this year of a brand new LEGO Batman game. There have been rumors about it, but it is official. LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight is real. It is here, and we got a ton of information today. We got a new trailer, a bunch of new gameplay. There's a whole website dedicated to it with a bunch of FAQs. There's a ton of stuff out there to go through over the course of the next few weeks, but today we are going to be breaking down the brand new trailer because there's a lot of exciting stuff in here. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that, just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It'll notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload. And if you would like to take this conversation beyond the comment section on YouTube, make sure to head over to Twitter and follow us at Lunar Squadron, or jump into our Discord server. All the information for that will be down below. But with all that out of the way, Andreas, let's talk about a LEGO game.
Oh yeah, let's do this, guys. Now, before we get into the details of this trailer, which, like you mentioned, Nick, there's so much in here, I just want to take a moment to appreciate how nice it is to see the TT Games logo returning at the beginning of a LEGO trailer. There was a lot of question marks about TT Games, especially after the release of Skywalker Saga, the multiple delays there. LEGO kind of taking different directions when it comes to gaming with the whole LEGO Horizon thing. Everybody, I feel like, has been wondering what TT Games has been working on, and I'm just so happy to see what they've been working on, and it really does look incredible here. So I'm really excited to dig into it, but I felt it was worth mentioning that it's good to see our friends over at TT Games back on the horse and doing what they do best, which is making great games.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, huh? LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, for those of you who have been with us for now almost over 5 years since we started this channel, that is really the game that started Lunar Squadron. That was the first game that we covered on the channel, and so it feels kind of surreal to be here all these years later talking about a new LEGO game. It's like a nice full circle moment, I guess. But let's give the people what they're here for. That's a LEGO Batman breakdown.
Yeah, let's do what we do best. Let's talk about the minutia of LEGO games, starting off with this blaster here. The one thing that I want to point out about this is the part number 24144. I think almost most importantly here, I just want to confirm that that's not like the hidden date of when this game is going to come out, or it's not a reference to anything else special. It's really just a part number on the blaster that was most commonly used throughout the era of Batman Lego sets that would have the Lego DC comic superheroes logo on them. Also, you'd see it kind of bleed into the Lego Batman movie Lego sets around the 2016 and 2018 mark. So very cool to see that they're pulling the pieces from the sets that all of us know and love and putting them into the game with the parts numbers like stamped onto them. It's just showing that level of authenticity. I think they're showing this frame first for that reason, is to show that, you know, Lego's not messing around. TT Games is back, and they are holding themselves to the highest standards of authenticity when it comes to putting Lego products in the game in their virtual form. They've been big on that with Skywalker Saga. I don't expect that to be going anywhere, and I think this is just confirmation of that.
Yeah, for sure. And as this trailer gets underway, you'll notice a lot throughout here, a big focus on the most recent Robert Pattinson, the Batman film, like that era of Batman, and that's exactly what we start with here. With this container sequence, we see very briefly as it continues when Batman jumps at them, that is the Pattinson suit, and then once the sequence completes, it will eventually cut to a shot of Batman, and we get to see our first look at him, and he is in the Robert Pattinson suit. Andreas, that was a little surprising for me. I didn't think that was going to be the main suit that they showcased for this game, but I guess that does make a lot of sense since that is technically the current iteration of Batman. It's a very dark iteration of the character, and this is a Lego game, so perhaps Lego is taking a more serious tone here. I think obviously it will have that classic Lego humor, but it does look like this is going to be a more mature version of Lego with some of the gameplay that we're seeing. It's a whole new level of gameplay that we've never really seen from Lego games. Just very interesting that they chose to focus on this version of Batman the most in this trailer.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, you know, speaking of like dark tone, I mean, Batman like beating the shit out of these people in a shipping container. I mean, that's what a way to introduce your character. And you know what, Nick, I'm glad that you pointed out it is the Matt Reeves Batman suit. And I'm happy to see that version of the Batman here because as a DC fan, it feels like the Batman is kind of on an island right now and hasn't really been incorporated with the rest of the IP. And this kind of feels like it's welcome to the club moment of you're not on your Matt Reeves island anymore. You are with the whole collection of Batman IP at this point, which is just nice to see that it's been integrated. One other detail that I want to point out here is in that shipping container in the back left corner, you can see it says Cord. You can see this shipping container or another shipping container that says Cord a bit more clearly later on in the trailer. But of course, Cord Industries referring to Ted Cord, also known as the Blue Beetle. So another DC mention here. So it's just, again, nice to see this Matt Reeves, the Batman, incorporated in the broader DC universe here and being kind of like the front runner for this version of Batman. But like we'll see later on and throughout the trailer, Nick, there's a ton of different iterations of Batman that is permeating this trailer. And I think this is a great point right here that this shot is undoubtedly, undeniably a shot pulled from the Dark Knight trilogy, specifically Batman Begins. We all know that this is the shot of Bruce Wayne falling down that well. He's wearing the same exact outfit. I'm not sure why he's got like goggles or glasses on in this shot. It's probably, you know, just another Lego gag that we'll learn about in due course. But again, just a great reminder that they are mishmashing everything together. We just went from the Batman, Matt Reeves Batsuit to, you know, Bruce Wayne ripped out of the Dark Knight trilogy. So that breakneck tone shift is something that I think we should come to expect with this game.
Yeah, this got me really excited to see The Dark Knight, which is one of the greatest film trilogies of all time and my personal favorite iteration of Batman, being in a video game, being in a Lego game. Like, that is very, very exciting. And I'm really excited to see how they kind of weave all of these different references and eras of Batman together. Like, we know that they're going to be pulling stuff from the comics and shows and movies and video games, which we see a lot of references to the Arkham trilogy throughout this trailer. But right here, again, back to Batman Begins. Like, this is the whole like League of Shadows sequence at the beginning. We do see Talia al Ghul there, so that's not a part of Batman Begins, obviously, so they're kind of changing it, but this is clearly the Christian Bale era of Batman. And then we get this next scene, which is, again, pulled pretty much straight from the movie, after Alfred picks him up on the plane, and he's talking about how he has to become a symbol, but we have some of that Lego humor with him spilling the coffee on him. It actually looks like the Lego spill kind of makes the Batman symbol on Alfred there, so just a cool little Easter egg planted in there. But I love how they're weaving all of these just like classic Batman stories together to make one kind of new story, I guess, around it. It's going to be really fun to experience.
You know, Nick, one technical question that I have here is any speculation on which engine we think TT Games is using for this game? I mean, I'm just looking at this shot here in the like winter environment with the snow, and you can see like the snow marks on the Lego bricks. Reminds me an awful lot of what it would look like when you were using Lego characters on Hoth, for example, in the Skywalker Saga. Wondering if we're using that same TT engine or if we're just replicating that look in like a more familiar engine like an Unreal. Just something that I'm interested in. I don't know if you had to put your money on it, what you would guess.
No, that's a great question, because when I first saw this, because this was our first real look at gameplay, I was like, this looks a lot like Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Like, that was my immediate impression, but we know that that engine struggled, and personally, I've been kind of out of the loop with the rumors around this game and kind of the development around this game, so I'm not entirely sure what engine this is being developed on, but it does look a lot like the engine they used for that game. So that will be some interesting information to find out for sure. And then we cut to this shot of Batman again wearing that Pattinson suit, and he's building the bat signal on top of GCPD. And my favorite part about this sequence, which a couple other people have pointed out in some of the videos that we've seen, is that we hear the classic like Lego completed build sound. So just some of that, you know, nostalgia from Lego. But Andreas, I know you noticed a sign in the background when we were putting this together.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a ton of signs coming up soon, but the first one that you can see is this soda cola sign in the back left. Soda Cola, of course, is throughout DC Comics. It's just, in-universe popular soda brand. I'm pretty sure it also popped up in James Gunn's Superman film recently. So nice to see that they're going to be pulling from the host of DC comic things for this game. And one thing that I want to point out is just how beautiful the water droplets on the bat signal look here. It just looks so good. This is a very pretty looking game to me. Especially, they've uploaded this trailer in 4K. Thank you so much for doing that. You'd be surprised how many games still do not do that. It's like honestly mind-boggling. But another detail that I want to point out here is when Batman jumps over the ledge here, you can look through the grates on the bottom side of the screen and you can see that is a full interior there. Like you can see as it scrolls up, down, you can see like an exit sign that kind of peers through the grate. So it looks like this building, Nick, you said probably the GCPD building. That's usually where the bat signal is placed atop of the GCPD building, because we know that's where Gordon usually meets Batman, on top of the GCPD building. And it looks like those letters at the bottom, looks like you can just make out GCPD, or at least the top portion of those letters. But looks like we're probably going to be able to explore the interior, because I'm not sure why they would make those interior spaces if you weren't able to explore it. But that's going to be a question that I have throughout this area here, of course, as the camera pans around as well. How many of these buildings in this Gotham City are explorable? And at the very least, they do a good job of giving the appearance that these buildings are explorable because of the light that's kind of passing through the windows. And it looks like there's different interior detail that you can see through the windows. I'm always interested with open world games, how much of that open world is kind of just space and how much of it is explorable. And this shot right here is where this game kind of punched me in the face. And I had that realization of like, this is a full rendition of the city. It is open world. It is explorable in a beautiful modern AAA Lego setting. And I am here for it. This is kind of like the frame, Nick, where I got really excited.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it looks beautiful. I mean, speaking of open world, before we even get into that, I would just like to speculate for a second. I haven't seen if this has been confirmed anywhere or not, or if this has been talked about, but obviously we do see Batman build the bat signal, which, like, why would he need to build it? Because, like, obviously Gordon uses it to call Batman. So I'm just wondering, since this is an open world, will these act as kind of like fast travel checkpoints? Like, for example, we know like in the Horizon franchise, because I always like to talk about the Horizon franchise, there's like the campfires that you can use as like a marker to fast travel to different areas. So will you be able to build multiple bat signals, and that will kind of be your little fast travel checkpoint to get around the open world, which that would be really exciting, because if they put those in, that would mean that this open world is pretty damn big. But getting into the open world, my immediate reaction to this was, they just ripped this out of Arkham Knight. And I mean that in the best way possible. This looks like Gotham City from the Arkham Knight, which is one of my all-time favorite games. The Arkham trilogy is just one of the greatest set of games ever, including Arkham Origins. I know it's not technically a trilogy, but like, you know, you guys know. But there is so much packed in here. First off, the verticality of this game is going to be unlike anything we've ever experienced in Lego. This is just pretty much like an open world Batman game, but like with a Lego skin, which we will see with the gameplay. But I love the references that are put into this sequence of this gameplay, including, we'll just start off with the signs. So right there on the right, there's a sign that says "Welcome to Kingston," which is incredibly exciting. Again, a call out to the Arkham trilogy, because Kingston is one of the 3 districts that is on the island of Miagani, which is one of the 3 major islands of Central Gotham in Arkham Knight. So really fun, exciting reference to Arkham Knight here right off the bat when we see the open world gameplay. And then we see an LED sign right to the left of Batman that says Shirley's Music. Now, pretty confident that this is actually a reference to Shirley Walker, who wrote some of the most iconic Batman scores and themes, including for Batman the Animated Series. So that's a really cool shout out to her. And then we see a sign all the way in the background, and it says Falcone's Fishery, which obviously is a reference to Carmine Falcone and the Falcone family. And then right to the left of Shirley's Music, a little bit before this, there's actually a coffee sign there, and that is for Jitter's Coffee, which is a coffee chain from Central City and is part of the Flash, which, Andreas, I think you also pointed out was also possibly in the most recent Superman film.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did show up in Superman, which I think I've seen it also just generally in other spots throughout this frame. I think there's like a full-on Jitters coffee shop to the bottom right as well, next to the Bit Cave, which we love. A good pun there, Bit Cave, like Batcave.
Yeah, very good. Classic Lego humor. And then off there to the right, there's a lot of signs, so I'm sure we've missed something here. But we see a sign for GBC, which of course is the Gotham Broadcasting Company, which Vicky Vale has been associated with that in some Batman adaptations in the past. And it actually on the sign says, featuring Vicky Vale and Alexander Knox. Now, Vicky Vale is a very popular character that I believe first appearance was 1948, like has been a part of Batman forever, but you might know her best from the Arkham series or Tim Burton's Batman film back in the 80s. And then also Alexander Knox, which I believe is featured just in that Tim Burton film. I think it's based off of an older character from the comics, but I'm pretty sure his character specifically is only from that film.
I'm sure we could kind of sit here and pick apart this frame all day, but there are a couple more notable ones that we just want to point out because we feel like a lot of effort went into this section of the game clearly. But to the bottom right, you can see Marlowe's Deli, which we think this is a passive reference to John Marlowe, who's the Everywhere Man, another DC Comics character in the Batman universe. And then you can also see, if you kind of scroll ahead here and look to the left-hand side of the street, you can just barely make out Krusty M's Emporium. This is a reference to Krusty M's Laserdisc Emporium, which is a super obscure reference in my opinion. It's a location in Batman Volume 1, Number 0, which was a comic published back in 1994. And then finally, we can see that in the bottom right-hand corner, a Riddler poster. Wonder what that could be gameplay-wise.
Oh, I mean, speaking of Arkham Knight, I think for all of us who have played Arkham Knight, seeing a Riddler question mark anywhere is the most PTSD-inducing thing. Like, if you know, you know. Now, the one thing I am wondering about the Riddler in this game is, like, which version of the Riddler are we going to get? Are we going to get, like, the Jim Carrey Riddler? Or are they going to go all the way on the other side of the spectrum and get, like, serial killer Riddler? Like,
I don't think
there's a lot of places they could go with this.
Serial killer Riddler.
You never know. Lego could be taking on a new era. All right, things are getting a little more serious, which we already see here. Things are getting more mature. We get our first real look at what the combat and the gameplay looks like. And speaking of things ripped directly out of the Arkham series, that is this whole gameplay sequence, from the stealth sections to the combat, which we can make a whole video about the combat in this game with the combos and the counters and the like difficulty levels that they're adding. Like, very excited about the gameplay in this game to get like an actual kind of like AAA gameplay experience out of this, like an Arkham experience with a Lego skin. Really excited for that. Like, it feels nice, kind of like Lego is kind of growing up with us. Like, now that we're into our late 20s, like, the gameplay is not going to be like what it was when we were playing Lego games when we were 8. So like, this is something that I'm personally really excited about. And one thing I do want to point out from this gameplay sequence, like, we don't see a lot of references to like the Adam West era of Batman. We see a lot of references to more of the more recent kind of Batman iterations, except for the DCEU. Like, they've completely just ignored Batfleck, which I'm sure was incredibly intentional from WB. But I do wonder if these kind of like onomatopoeias, like the things showing up on screen, if that is like a pure reference to the Adam West Batman, which would be a really cool way of doing that. Just a cool little detail.
I do think this game is also trying to pay homage to the comics, and they've stated as such. So I'm really interested to see how far this game does delve into comics and comic references, because if this game really is taking itself as like a love letter to Batman, I mean, the comics are such a huge part of that I think they would almost have to. Nick, I love your reference to the Arkham series, because this combat here just looks like it's straight up pulled out of the Arkham games. Like, the way that Batman moves here in this combat sequence, the way that he kind of like is sucked from one of these goons to the other, just totally reminds me of the animation sets in that game. And how great does this look? Like, you can see the water droplets dropping down Batman's cape. And then another detail that I love here is these guys are getting their asses kicked and they are smiling. Like they've all got smiles on their faces. Like they're happy to be next in line to be beat up by Batman. I mean, it's like stuff like that. Like I think they're gonna find ways to kind of like incorporate the darkness of Batman here, but kind of give it like that Lego humor where, you know, you've got these dudes are just smiling as they're getting beat up by Batman.
And speaking of goons, I think we would be remiss to not mention that we do see the goon here from the original Lego Batman game, just a more modern take on it. So just a cool little shout out to like the history of Batman, which I do think it's interesting that for a Lego Batman game, there are not a ton of references to like Lego Batman himself. They really did try to focus on some of the other iterations of Batman. Speaking of the coolest Batmobile that possibly could exist, the one that got its own name, the Tumbler drives by, which I am so excited to have that.
Again, I hate to like beat a dead horse here, but my God, the water droplets on this Lego, like it looks like I just took a Lego tumbler and put it in my shower. Like it looks so good. And then looking in the background there, you can see a diner. We were having an internal debate here at Lunar Squadron. Is this diner Polly's Diner from the Arkham series? Or are we just thinking Arkham on everything here and we're taking it a little too far? Let us know in the comments down below. Is this Polly's Diner or is it some other diner? And if you think it's some other diner in the DC universe, which one do you think it is? Let us know in the comments down below.
Could be Marv's Diner. There's a couple different diners, but I really do think it's Polly's Diner because I believe that diner was also most recently mentioned in the Penguin series, so they seem to be leaning into it a little bit. So I'm going to bet on that. But as we continue, we get to see Ace Chemicals, of course, very, very famous building, very important building within Batman. This is, of course, the birthplace of Joker with certain iterations. And then it kind of cuts to the next shot after Batman gets into Ace Chemicals, and we get to see some members of the Red Hood gang, which that's really exciting. And there's some other gameplay that got dropped on the website that wasn't included in this trailer that gives a more clear look at the Red Hood gang. Like that's definitely who that is, but that's gonna be really fun. It's gonna just be fun to get involved with the extended rogues gallery of Batman, because I think Batman has probably one of the coolest rogues galleries out there within superheroes, like up there with like the Spider-Man. Like it is just a really like important and a really iconic rogues gallery. So it's gonna be really fun to kind of see what they pull and the iterations of these villains that they pull, such as Dark Knight Joker, not the Lego version of Joker, like the Lego Batman. They're going for like the mass murderer version of Joker here, like the Heath Ledger. Like that's really exciting. That's really cool.
I do wonder how much of this is Lego like almost putting their stamp on like, you know, this is the best Joker. For like a lot of people would argue that this is the best or like the zenith of Joker in at least in film. So I'm wondering like how much of this is Lego kind of putting their stamp on certain iterations of characters and kind of saying, you know, this is the definitive Joker, or later on, this is the definitive Penguin, so on and so forth. Kind of like putting their opinion on things. Or will we be seeing multiple versions of these villains throughout this mishmash of a Batman story? And that's something I'm really interested about with this format that they've done. Like just here, we now see that Batman himself has even changed in appearance. Now we're seeing a Dark Knight version of Batman with the Dark Knight suit and the Dark Knight logo. So it's very interesting to see like where they're going with each of these different Batman IP and how they're weaving them together across these different iterations. And in some instances, we even see that they've blended different Batman IP, like this shot right here, right, Nick?
Yeah, for sure. We also, within that little sequence of the Dark Knight, we didn't really talk about this, we get to see like Arkham Asylum, which that's really cool. We know that's going to be one of the locations in the game, so we get to go into Arkham Asylum. I also just realized that as I was talking about the Joker, I talked about how cool it was that they're doing the serial killer one, and then kind of the implications of saying how cool that is, but we can move past that. Let's talk about this sequence. Like, of course, the mashup, which I think again kind of calls back to like how cool it's going to be to see how they weave this all together, where they put together two of the more iconic Batman moments. You have the interrogation sequence of the Dark Knight, which is one of the big, great moments from that film, with, of course, Michael Keaton's "You want to get nuts, let's get nuts" moment. So we're seeing kind of that mashup in real time here in that trailer.
And then, of course, the Lego humor of Joker being like, well, I'm allergic to nuts. I mean, that's exactly what you would expect him to say in a Lego format. And, of course, on the theme of DC references baked into every single sign in this game, we have yet another one, don't we?
Yes, we sure do, and this one is a callback to Batman Returns. We see a sign for Shrek's, which was a department store chain, played a pretty important role within that film, and it was located in Gotham Plaza. And then we see, obviously, the Batman Returns version of Catwoman, which we know Catwoman's going to be one of the playable characters in this game. And then as we continue, we get to see kind of some of the different groups that we'll be fighting. We get to see more of that gameplay. Here we see kind of the Batman Returns suit, so just, again, another look at another suit for Batman in this game. And I love how we get to see kind of like the more serious gameplay, but with some of that like Lego humor of him hitting him with, I guess, like a frying pan of some sort. Like, it's just going to be a lot of fun. And speaking of gameplay, another Arkham reference here. We get to see the explosive gel maker return. Never thought I would ever see that again, but we're seeing it in Lego now.
Yeah, I mean, this just looks like straight up ripped from the Arkham series, which is so cool to see that even in the description of the game, they've said that this game is going to pay homage to Batman throughout all medium. And that, of course, does include the video games. And so we're wondering, like, how deep does this go? Like, how many things will they be pulling from the Arkham games, whether it be even total plot lines, for example? That would be very interesting. And then here we're shifting back to Matt Reeves' The Batman here with that version of the Batmobile, as Batman does jump over this truck here. But as he does, I just want to point out a couple of other cool references at this point. To the left is a reference from the Lego movie, that Octan van. And then to the right is a very cool DC reference to Chacos, which, if you know, you know. I mean, Chacos is Martian Manhunter's favorite snack. That's like one of my favorite plot lines. It just like cracks me up every time I think about Martian Manhunter going nuts over Chacos. And it's so cool to see that is incorporated in this game as well. And I can't wait to see all those references continue to be folded throughout this game. And here, talking about things being folded in, this scene is just ripped straight from the Batman, as you have the Penguin himself. Looks more of like a Danny DeVito iteration of the Penguin, but in a Matt Reeves, the Batman wrapper, which, like we were talking about, weird mashups. I mean, it's so interesting to see stuff like this with this game.
Yeah, it really is. And it was really exciting to see this sequence. Like, it has that Lego humor baked in with the rubber ducks, but like, this has become, again, one of the more iconic Batman scenes and sequences of the Batmobile crashing through, and then with the car flipping and Batman, you know, kind of aura farming as he's walking to the car with the camera upside down.
Total aura farm.
Like 100%. Such a cool sequence in the film. It's really cool to see this in Lego. Like, that's just really exciting. And then, of course, the trailer finishes with one of my favorite scenes. I think I quote this scene so many times.
Once a day.
I feel like I quote this scene a lot. It is, of course, the "you think darkness is your ally" scene of Bane, which it is cool to see Bane as like one of the big figs instead of a minifig. Like, it doesn't exactly fit that version of Bane. Like, Bane is kind of more of a normal sized person.
Yeah, Tom Hardy isn't a small guy.
No, he's not. But like, Bane in the comics, that fits the big fig, but like this version of Bane, I feel like would fit more of the minifig. So I think it's a cool decision, but it is an interesting one nonetheless. And then, of course, we do see actually the Dark Knight suit here. I don't think that's the Dark Knight Rises suit, even though this is a sequence from the Dark Knight Rises. But so that would just be something to keep an eye on, if how many suits, I guess, how many versions of Batman end up in this game. And I think that will be another real thing to keep an eye on, is since we know it's only 7 playable characters, this isn't going to be the traditional Lego game where you're going to have, 150 plus different characters you can cycle through. And we know you'll have like a customizable Batcave. So I'm just interested to see like how you will change, like how the cosmetics will change. How will you change suits? How will you do all of that? Like, it seems like it's going to be a new system for this Lego game, alongside a completely revamped gameplay system, unlike anything Lego has seen before. So like, we're going to get that familiar Lego game, but with a lot of fresh new updates to it.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be having way more discussions about everything new with this game, because trust us, guys. There's so much to dig into. We're, of course, going to be breaking down everything that they've also unveiled on the official website for this game. One thing that I just want to touch on quickly, because we're talking about the trailer, so I think this is fair game for this discussion, Nick. Build the Galaxy 2026. What's the over-under on them hitting that mark here?
I'm guessing you said build the galaxy on purpose because you were referencing Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which I think all of us Lego fans recalling all of the memes and all of the moments and the anger and the frustration. I think we're a little traumatized, but I feel like 2026 is going to happen. This game is looking pretty far in development compared to that one. Like, we're seeing gameplay, like a lot of gameplay. They've shared a lot of information. I'm feeling good about the 2026 date right now. I'm not worried about it like we were with Lego Star Wars. I don't think we're going to have a repeat of that era for those of you who were there for that.
I guess my only fear here is that they may push it back to coincide with the release of the Batman Part 2, which we think is going to release in 2027, and kind of be like a tie-in, like, while Batman is relevant, here's a Batman game. I really hope that's not the case, because I really do miss having a Lego game in our life, and seeing a Lego game of this scope, scale, and quality out of the TT Games studio coming in 2026, that really does excite me. And I think this is really a great time to see like a refreshed TT Games, because of course this isn't the same TT Games that did work on the Skywalker saga. It has seen a lot of change over the years. Of course, a lot of the personnel from TT Games, from like classic TT Games, had moved over and formed their own studio. So this is almost like a reformed version of the studio. Very excited to see the creative talent there, as well as like how much of that TT Games tradition kind of carries along. But I think it's a great opportunity to see something new and something fresh. So I think there's a lot to be excited about here, and we're really excited to cover this game along with all of you.
Yeah, this is really exciting. This game immediately jumps to the top of my list for most anticipated games. Very, very excited for this, but I also just...
Over GTA 6.
It's close. I just love Batman. I love Batman. He's one of my all-time favorite characters across just all of media. Like, it's Batman. He's always relevant. You were like, oh, well, Batman's relevant. My dude is always relevant, okay? Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us for this one. Let us know down below your favorite moment from this trailer. What are you most excited for when it comes to this game? Because I think there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot of stuff that I just cannot wait to see more of. But that is going to do it for us for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.